Good evening. Here we are, finally done with the first week of football, as there was a lot of teams who really need some work and some teams who only gave us a glimpse of what is to come. So today, I'm going to discuss the rest of the games that I didn't talk about on Monday. So, are you ready to get your fix? Well, let's get started with the New York Jets facing off against the Buffalo Bills. Now, this game told me one thing about the Jets. They are absolutely horrible. And now for the next couple weeks, they're going to have it probably be even worse, as they had to put Le'Veon Bell on the injured reserve list. I think it was due to an ankle injury, so he'll be out about 3 games for that. So during the game, you could really tell that the Bills' offense works really good together, and the wide receiver core of Stephon Diggs, John Brown, and Cole Beasley is probably top 5, if not the top wide receiver trio in the NFL at this time. Josh Allen, he absolutely went crazy, racking up 312 passing yards, and was the Bills' leading rusher with 57 yards and a rushing touchdown as well. I do want to see the Bills' defense play against an opponent who won't just lay down and give up like the Jets did, so that I can get a better understanding of what that defense is really about. So my top 3 performers for the Jets are safety Marcus May, quarterback Sam Darnold, and wide receiver Jamison Crowder. And then my top 3 performers for the Bills are wide receiver John Brown, wide receiver Stephon Diggs, and quarterback Josh Allen. Moving to the Chicago Bears, who faced the Detroit Lions. Now, this game was really boring to watch, as really nothing was happening in that first half. It was kind of back and forth. They each hit a field goal and whatnot. So both offense looked really sloppy and couldn't sustain any blocks. Their offensive lines were terrible. Matthew Stafford has been the most hit quarterback in the league the last couple of years. Not last year, because he was hurt the whole year pretty much, but he's up there. So, however, though, in that second half, things really started to get interesting with the Lions taking a 23-6 lead, which had me thinking the game was pretty much over, being how sloppy the Bears are playing. But that wasn't the case. Okay, the Bears came back and scored 21 unanswered points in that fourth quarter to beat the Lions. They beat them 27-23. Now, I think this goes to show just how sloppy this game was for the Lions, and just how tired those players got, being that they aren't really in football shape quite yet, as that's what those preseason games are for, is getting them reps against teams going 100% instead of 75%. So my top 3 performers for the Bears are wide receiver Anthony Miller, running back David Montgomery, and quarterback Mitchell Trubisky. My top 3 performers for the Lions are defensive end Trey Flowers, tight end TJ Hawkinson, and quarterback Matthew Stafford. So now let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles facing the Washington football team. Now, this was an interesting game, okay, as a lot of people, including myself, thought the Eagles were going to come away with a win, at least beat them pretty bad like we've seen the Jets get beat. But the Eagles had a sloppy first half where they were really just hit and miss, and kind of relied on those big plays. They had a really nice big play to Jalen Reagor, their rookie wide receiver. But, Washington, they went into halftime. Their head coach, Ron Rivera, who's battling cancer right now, had to step away for a little bit to get some treatment done. So Dwayne Haskins took over the speech at halftime, got them motivated. They came out and had a bunch of motivation. I don't know what Haskins said or what was done in that locker room at halftime, but they came out in that second half and just dismantled this Eagles team. Chase Young is an absolute beast on that defensive line and is going to make a huge impact for the Washington football team this year. Now, during the second half, though, the Eagles, they couldn't even score a single point. Like, against what was said to be probably the second worst team in the NFL. Okay? It's just sad on the Eagles' part, and they should be looking to help out that offensive line and get another wide receiver to kind of complement Jalen Reagor, because as of right now, I didn't see any studs at that wide receiver position, so I think they need that I think they need to look at that a little bit more. But hey, great win for Washington, as now they're the only team in their division over the Cowboys, Giants, and Eagles. They're 1-0. The rest of them are 0-1. They're leading. Crazy. Who would have thought, right? But anyways, my top 3 performers for those Eagles are wide receiver Jalen Reagor, tight end Dallas Goedert, and quarterback Carson Wentz. My top 3 performers for the Washington football team are defensive end Ryan Kerrigan, defensive end Chase Young, and then defensive tackle Matt Ioannidis. So moving over to the Las Vegas Raiders facing the Carolina Panthers. Now, this was a fun game to watch that had a lot of action, happening with both offenses, really. It was a high-scoring game. I believe it was over, I want to say it was like about 69 points, 68 points, somewhere around there combined. Now, both teams, they seem to just march down the field, okay, with ease, which means that both of their defenses are not that good, okay, and could face some trouble down the road if things aren't figured out. But they have some time. They got 16 more weeks to go to figure that out, so I think they got it. I think they'll handle it real well. Josh Jacobs, he had a really, really nice day running the ball and being that main piece of the offense. And for the Panthers, Teddy Bridgewater, he looked really solid and throws a really, really good ball. I just hope that he can figure out that deep ball a little bit more, because then he'll be probably towards the top of the league of quarterbacks. So, and then we take a look at the rookie wide receiver who everyone's really ready to watch, Henry Ruggs III. He looks solid as well, and you could really tell just how his speed really translates to the NFL, as he's able to cause separation from defensive backs like it's nothing. He runs really sharp, and it doesn't even look like he's moving that fast at times. He's that quick. He just gets that much separation, and bam, he's gone. Now this was an offensive game, 68 points, obviously, and like I said, both of their defense have some work to do. So my top three performers for the Raiders are wide receiver Henry Ruggs, quarterback Derek Carr, and running back Josh Jacobs. So my top three performers for the Panthers are running back Christian McCaffrey, wide receiver Robbie Anderson, and quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. Now, let's get to the Indianapolis Colts facing that Jacksonville Jaguars, who I had going 1-15. But this was a good overall game with the Jaguars showing that they have some holes to fill, but they're looking pretty solid at this point. The Jaguars really had a good offensive outing, as well as their defense really showing up, showing that they can really be very, very good. This defense they lost key defensive end and Yannick Ngakoue to the Minnesota. They're short at cornerback position, but they did get that rookie, C.J. Henderson, who is a phenomenal player. I thought when I was watching the game, you can't even tell he's a rookie out there. He's very good. I think the Colts wide receiver group was a little sluggish and had a lot of missed opportunities that they should have capitalized on. I watched T.Y. Hilton drop a couple passes that he could have had a lot of yards with. So overall, though, the Colts, they have some work to do. Okay, the rookie like I just mentioned not too long ago, the cornerback C.J. Henderson, he's going to be a handful. He really is. He's a rookie. It's just for all teams. They're going to have a really tough time. Okay, he's a huge part of that defense, and he was a huge part of the Jaguars actually beating the Colts. He held those wide receivers to little to nothing. So expect him to flourish even more this year. And if you remember, like I said, I have the Jaguars going 1-15. So if this is their only win, wow. But I don't think it's going to be, so I might be wrong on that 1-15. But my top three performers for the Colts are defensive tackle Danico Autry, wide receiver Paris Campbell, and running back Jonathan Taylor. And then my top three performers for the Jaguars are quarterback Gardner Minshew, linebacker Miles Jack, and the cornerback C.J. Henderson, who's just an absolute animal. So moving over to the Los Angeles Chargers facing the Cincinnati Bengals, you could really tell that the Chargers are really missing safety Derwin James, as Joe Burrow was able to find some holes in that defense. He looked really solid, and he actually scored a rushing touchdown and the first touchdown of the game with a 23-yard run. So with Derwin James there, that run probably doesn't happen unless that Chargers defense just wasn't ready for it. That wide receiver group for the Bengals, they looked real good, and they found open areas in the field. That's another reason they want Derwin James. The Chargers want Derwin James out there because there's those holes and those open areas in that field that James would come in and fill. For the Chargers, though, Tyrod Taylor, he looked pretty good, but his accuracy needs to improve just a tad, as I felt like he was trying to place the ball in situations where it really wasn't needed, or he would do it too high, too low, too outside of the receiver's hands. So this game should have went into overtime. And I was really thinking the Bengals were actually going to come away with a win. They were really close to scoring a touchdown. It just didn't go their way. But that wasn't the case. Their kicker came in, who drilled, I think, 2 or 3 field goals before that, and absolutely botched the tying field goal. Now, He did act like he was hurt. I was seeing like one of the punter or kicker of the Chargers saying, like, kind of mentioning that the field was a little bit slick, it seemed like, but no excuses. You got to make that. That's a tie of the game, send it overtime, give your team a chance to win. So my top three performers for the Chargers are running back Austin Eckler, tight end Hunter Henry, and quarterback Tyrod Taylor. And my top three performers for the Bengals are quarterback Joe Burrow, running back Joe Mixon, and wide receiver AJ Green. So next, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers facing the New York Giants. Now, the Steelers' defense is absolutely insane. They were able to hold Saquon Barkley to 6 rushing yards. 6 rushing yards. There's 8 quarterbacks in the NFL right now who have more rushing yards than Saquon Barkley. Just let that sink in for a moment. Okay, this defense hasn't lost a step from last year, and they might have gotten better with their performance on Monday, or last night, or 2 nights ago. Sorry, it was nice though to see Big Ben back in action, as he even showed he can scramble if he really needs to. He had a couple. I want to say he had at least 2 runs or something for like 20-some yards, or lower than that. I can't remember, but he did have a nice run for a first down. He's aware of the situation. He's not afraid to go out there and take one for the team if he needs to. I also think with Big Ben back, that Juju is going to have a really, really nice season, as he scored 2 touchdowns in that game against the Giants, and he went 6 for 6 as well. So for the Giants, though, their defense was hit and miss, okay, and needs some work in that secondary, but their defensive line looked very solid. Their offense, though, again, needs some work, as their offensive line really couldn't protect Daniel Jones, let alone block for Saquon Barkley for 1 second, really. Just couldn't do it. They're looking really good, though, at the wide receiver position. It's just that Daniel Jones needs more time in that pocket to throw the ball to them, to get it out. At least they can't keep running these quick slant routes, and they have to be able to run at least some deep routes. So my top 3 performers for those Steelers are running back Benny Snell Jr., who had a really nice game, quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, and wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster. And my top 3 performers for the Giants are defensive end Leonard Williams, quarterback Daniel Jones, and wide receiver Darius Slayton. So finally, let's get to the last game, the Tennessee Titans taking on the Denver Broncos. This was a tough-fought game by both teams, with both defenses really being the main factor in the game. Both offenses were kind of nonchalant there a little bit. So the Titans, they were able to move the ball kind of slowly down that field, slowly chip away, and should have won by more had their kicker, Steven Gostkowski, hadn't missed 3 field goals in that game. It's a bummer. I feel for him. He's had a really good career in New England. He did make the winning field goal, though, so hopefully that keeps him there and gives him a little more leverage. The Broncos offense, though, they need some work, as Drew Lock. He was pressured a lot, and he looked a little out of rhythm, being that he kind of was shaky a little bit. So his first game jitters, he has to get it out of the way. Jerry Jeudy, he looked good, okay, but he had some drops that could have made big plays, and even probably a touchdown possibly, okay? But that, like I said, it's the same way with Drew Lock. That could just be those first game jitters. But then again, no excuses. You can't have excuses for drop passes. He knows it. He was mad after him, and I think he'll get over that. But overall, though, it was a tough-fought game. It was a really good game by both teams. Each defense looked solid and really, really good and on the same page, but still have a little bit of things to improve on. So that is going to end our discussion today, as Week 1 of the NFL is officially over, with, like I said, some teams needing to fix a little thing, like needing to fix a couple things, and some teams who are just fine and now just need to continue to grow and continue to flourish and show us really what they're made of, like the Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. So Week 2 starts tomorrow. Okay, Bengals, Browns. I might have to go with the Bengals on this one. Browns are looking pretty sloppy. Bengals at least are going to bring some firepower. So get ready for that really good matchup, because I know I am. I'm excited. Week 2 is upon us. So thanks for stopping by. We'll see you Friday. And you just got your fix with the Wicks.